And the reason I say it, and I don't even want to address this on effed up news, but I feel like I have to. The reason I say that every single person who attends my happy hour has a better understanding of how critical race theory is taught than every conservative pundit is because yesterday, Virginia's new governor, Glenn Youngkin, made headlines. He banned critical race theory by executive order. Well, here's the problem. And we know this because we watch Happy Hour. What Glenn Youngkin banned by executive order is not how critical race theory is taught. It is not. It is only the most outlandish components of critical race theory that are taught. So I want to talk about this story because I do think that this is really important for people to understand. All I saw yesterday was conservative influencers be like, oh my God, Glenn Youngkin is finally governing. Republicans are finally doing something. And then I read the executive order that he issued banning critical race theory. And I was like, meh, unimpressed. And I'm going to tell you why I was unimpressed with this executive order. So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I may do like I may talk about this separately tomorrow and go a little bit more in depth on it. But the thing of it is there's a lot of stuff in this executive order. But what I want to bring you down to is the definitions, because when it comes to banning critical race theory in schools, whether you do it through legislation or you do it through executive order, the definitions are the most important thing that you need to look at. There is only one definition in this entire document. The document talks about divisive concepts over and over again. So you're going to see, number one, the superintendent of public instruction shall review all policies within the Department of Education to identify those that promote inherently divisive concepts. The Department of Education will identify those that promote or endorse divisive or inherently racist concepts. So what does it mean for a concept to be divisive? This is the devil that's in the details of this executive order. What does a divisive concept actually mean? And when we get down to the bottom of the executive order, we find right here, for the purposes of this executive order, inherently divisive concepts means advancing any ideas in violation of Title IV or Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, including but not limited to the following. And then it basically lists the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Here's the problem. The way that critical race theory is taught in schools almost never violates the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, it does every once in a while, and of course, this is entirely the fault of conservative media. I'm sorry. We see these stories on conservative media talking about critical race theory is anti-white. It hates white people. It is just against white people. Well, everyone who watches my happy hour knows that that's actually not the case. Critical race theory is not about race. It's about power. When they say whiteness, what they mean is people who own the power structure. It's usually not even about the color of our skin. So let me just read this article, or a portion of this article, and this is on my Substack. This is carlin.substack.com, which is, I'm going to be posting on my Substack like a lot more. We're going to be doing a lot of unwoke stuff on my Substack. But I just want to read to you about what I said in my kind of review on this. The problem between, okay, hang on. Where do I want to see? Okay, it's easy to understand why conservatives might believe this is enough to be effective. After all, Fox News constantly runs stories on the anti-white nature of critical race theory, and there are absolutely instances of overtly discriminatory practices taking place in public schools that make for great clickbait fodder. But the fact is that what you hear on Fox News is only one small part of what the truth is. I know this because I've spent thousands of hours watching how critical race theory is taught in the real world. I've seen the curriculum. I've seen the teacher trainings. Every week on Fridays on my second YouTube channel, we watch how CRT is actually taught. And it's rarely taught in the ways that show up in conservative media. It's actually much worse than you think. The problem between perception and reality that we are dealing with is that most teachers who are teaching critical race theory are much more subtle in their approach. They aren't teaching that white people are bad. They're teaching that America is a fundamentally racist country, and therefore the entire system needs to be overhauled. This is not something that is banned by Youngkin's executive order. And what that means is that teachers in Virginia can still teach the 1619 Project as though it's accurate history. It's not. They can still teach systemic racism as though it's a real thing. And they've always been vague enough in their teachings to make sure it won't violate this executive order. And they can still teach that we should be striving for equity, which is equality of outcomes, over equality of opportunity. And the reason I know this is true is because Youngkin did exactly the same thing that the Rhino legislatures in New Hampshire did. So the original anti-CRT bill that was introduced in New Hampshire, it had a robust list of definitions. And one of the definitions that it had in the original bill was that teachers could not teach that America was a fundamentally racist country. Well, in New Hampshire, the senators took that out of the bill. The Republican senators took that out of the bill. Just let that sink in for a second. Republican senators had the chance to make it illegal to teach that America was a fundamentally racist country, and they said, nope, that's perfectly fine. They took it out of the bill. What that means is that you can still teach all of those things. You can still teach 1619 Project. You can still teach systemic racism. You can still teach equity over equality. And so in New Hampshire, do you guys remember this Moms for Liberty bounty? This was all over the news. Do you remember when Moms for Liberty put a $500 bounty on the heads of teachers that were caught breaking the anti-CRT law in New Hampshire? The one that now looks exactly like Glenn Youngkin's executive order? They ban the same things. Glenn Youngkin's executive order bans exactly the same things that the New Hampshire bill banned. Well, what you probably don't know is this $500 bounty was never collected. At least to the best of my knowledge, at least as of like a couple weeks ago. It was never collected. And it wasn't because people didn't try to collect it. When they launched this $500 bounty, what I said was, this is going to be a really good test of how effective this law is. Because teachers in New Hampshire were pledging to teach critical race theory in defiance of the law. They flat out have told us, we're still going to teach critical race theory no matter what the law in New Hampshire says. So it should be then really easy for parents to pocket $500 of cold hard cash to turn in teachers for breaking the law, right? The problem is that they have yet to find any teachers who are actually breaking the law. Because teachers don't need to break the law in order to teach critical race theory. They can still teach critical race theory perfectly legally. They can still teach all the components of critical race theory perfectly legally because the law in New Hampshire, just like the executive order in Virginia, relies on the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Most teachers, when they are teaching critical race theory, are not breaking the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So this executive order isn't going to do a dang thing. If it was going to do a dang thing, I'm pretty sure at least one person in New Hampshire would have pocketed this Moms for Liberty bounty. And I know the people who put this bounty forward, guys. Like, ain't no one's come knocking for, well, they have. There are a lot of people who have tried, but no one has gotten it so far because no one's actually identified anyone who's broken the law. So do I think an executive order based off the 1964 Civil Rights Act is going to have any effectiveness at all in curtailing the teaching of critical race theory in Virginia? Nope. It won't. It won't. Now, I said this to conservatives yesterday, and of course, what I got was whining and complaining and people saying, Carlin, you're obviously still a leftist. Why do you hate Glenn Youngkin? Well, Glenn Youngkin said he banned critical race theory and he didn't. And the problem when you issue executive orders claiming to ban something is that parents believe you. This stuff drives me crazy like no one else. There is no one telling parents the truth. Glenn Youngkin's not telling parents the truth. The influencers who are all like, Glenn Youngkin is governing, he is the best. They're not telling parents the truth. I would bet you money that at some point Glenn Youngkin's going to be on Fox News primetime this week, whether it be Tucker Carlson or Hannity or Laura Ingraham. And he's going to lie then, and he's going to tell parents critical race theory is no longer being taught in Virginia when it absolutely will be taught in Virginia. because what they banned in the executive order is not how critical race theory is taught in schools in the vast majority of instances. I refuse to shut up about this, guys. When you lie to parents, and I'm not saying anyone in the chat has lied to parents, but when politicians and influencers lie to parents, what happens is they give those parents a false sense of security, so then the parents stop fighting back. If you think something is banned, are you actively going to work towards fighting against that thing? No. Tucker Carlson is not going to grill him. Tucker Carlson doesn't know any of this. Tucker Carlson's producers haven't told him any of this. If they had, Tucker Carlson wouldn't be doing stories saying critical race theory is anti-white, which he absolutely has done when critical race theory is not anti-white, which we've covered many, many times on this channel. Nope. Wrong. See, this is the problem that gets run into, guys. This is what happens now. I'm going to have all sorts of people on my channel saying, Carlin, critical race theory is against white people. Tucker Carlson told me so. Tucker Carlson lied to you. Tucker Carlson lied to you. That's not what it is. So we need to start telling the truth about this. Because there are parents in New Hampshire right now who believe that critical race theory is banned when it's not. Those parents have stopped fighting back. They say, oh, nope, the law banned it. I don't need to do anything else. And now exactly the same thing is going to happen in Virginia. And you know who wins? Do you know who wins when conservative politicians and influencers lie to their audiences? The teachers. The teachers played every single one of them. Because the teachers were all like, no, don't ban critical race theory. Don't do it. We're going to teach it anyway. And then Glenn Youngkin banned something that's not critical race theory. And then conservative media goes, oh, Glenn Youngkin banned critical race theory. And then all the teachers are like, haha, you didn't ban the right things. We're still going to teach it, but you think we're not going to be teaching it. So it's going to be so much easier to fool you. The teachers played the conservatives like a fiddle. Played the conservatives like a fiddle. Happens every single time because conservatives don't pay attention to these types of details. And it really, guys, like there is nothing more frustrating to me than watching these politicians using this for a media victory lap, because that's exactly what Glenn Youngkin's doing. He might legitimately not understand that he didn't actually ban critical race theory. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt there. But he's going to do a media victory lap, get all sorts of pats on the back. Thank you, Glenn, for banning critical race theory. He didn't do a damn thing. Sorry. It's still going to be taught all over Virginia. It hasn't banned anything. And until people wake up and start realizing that this stuff is not taught in the way that conservative media is telling you that it is taught, then it will still be taught in public schools. Absolutely. Every day of the week. Nat D says CRT is Marxism without class struggle. Well, they do have some class stuff in there. Every once in a while they talk about class, but more or less that is correct. I recommend you come to our Friday happy hours. Come to the webinar I'm going to do on critical race theory, because I'm sorry, critical race theory is not about white people. If you believe because you've been lied to by conservative influencers that critical race theory is about white people, then come to the webinar that I'm going to do on February 1st. Come to our weekly happy hours that we do on my second channel on Fridays at 5 p.m. Watch what they're teaching. We watch what they're teaching from start to finish. We don't look at headlines. We don't look at the most outlandish things. We watch what they're teaching from start to finish. If you don't believe my assessment, then come to our happy hours on Friday, as I've been doing them for the better part of the last year, almost every single week. You can go watch all the archives if you want, and you'll see exactly what they're teaching. And they're not teaching white people bad, white people bad, white people bad, white people bad. That's not what they're teaching. They're teaching system is bad, capitalism bad, America bad. The difference between what conservative media tells you that they're teaching and what they're actually teaching is this. Conservative media want you to believe that critical race theorists think that white people are just like as individual white people are evil, vile racists. Now, some of them do, and every once in a while you will find people who are that overt. But what critical race theory is actually more focused on is America is a fundamentally racist country, systemic racism exists, equity over equality, capitalism is the root of all evil. The definition of the term whiteness in critical race theory has nothing to do with the color of someone's skin. It has to do with who owns the power structure. That's why black people like Larry Elder can be considered white supremacists. Has nothing to do with their skin color. So I'm happy to keep talking about this stuff, guys, but I did want to cover that right at the top to really make sure that people understood that Virginia did not ban critical race theory yesterday, and anyone who says they did are either lying or they are misinformed. And until we start looking at the details of these things, this is not a battle we're going to fight. The left won in Virginia yesterday. The teachers' unions won in Virginia yesterday. They're still going to get to do exactly what they've been doing. There is nothing stopping them from doing exactly what they've been doing. They may have to curtail some of their stronger language, but by and large, it doesn't change a thing. If you want to keep getting played by the teachers, then keep following what conservative media tells you. If you want to actually solve the problem, well, we have to learn more about what's going on. And that's why we do happy hours on Fridays every single week, so that we can see for ourselves, not having anyone else interpret it for us, not having anyone else give us our talking points. We can see and decide for ourselves what they are actually doing and what they're actually teaching. And as Randall said, we play bingo too. We make it fun. We have drinks, we play bingo, we hang out. It's a good old time. All right, guys, this article is on my Substack. So if you want to read it, just head over to carlin.substack.com. It's right at the top, and you will have more information about what is actually banned and what is not banned. And you please share it out. Share it out with people. Conservative influencers hate me because I call them on their bullshit like all the time. But please share it out with people. My biggest concern is this actually gets into the hands of parents in Virginia so that they know. If you live in Virginia, please send this information to Glenn Youngkin's office. Please send it over to your brand new governor and tell him he didn't actually do his job in the first executive order, but guess what? He can always issue another one. He can update the executive order. Or even better yet, he can get his legislature to pass a law so that he's not governing by executive order. And even better yet, you can just pull your kids out of public school to begin with, because public schools are not fixable in any way, and we shouldn't pretend that they are. That I just today launched activelyunwoke.com, which I am very excited about. I'm excited for a couple reasons. First off, the website is named after my upcoming book that will be available at the end of April. You can pre-order the book now if you are on YouTube. I have put a link in the top of the chat for you to pre-order the book. If you are watching on Odyssey or Rockfin, you're going to find that link in the description. It's on Amazon. You can only pre-order the hardcover right now. There will be a Kindle version coming. There will be an audio version coming, I believe. Last time I heard, there will be. So, but you can get the pre-order for the hardcover right now. I'm so excited about it. This is a book that is filled with case studies about people who have fought back against the woke chaos in their lives. I'm starting to get a whole bunch of quotes in from people from the book. So I've got a couple quotes up here right now. You can see my friend Eric Matheny from Bob and Eric Saves America has endorsed it. Eric is the best. Frank McCormick, Chalkboard Heresy, Dr. Howard Asher, who's going to be on the channel on Tuesday. He's endorsed it. I literally just got like a page and a half of quotes from Jody Shaw, who is the Smith College whistleblower. And right before I came on the air, I got a quote from Chris Rufo, who has endorsed it. So lots of people are liking what they've seen in the book, and I'm really excited about it. But the other reason I want to show you activelyunwoke.com is not just because the book is going to live there, but because I am going to be building this out as a platform where people can come and get help in fighting back against the woke nonsense in their lives. And I particularly want to draw your attention to this live events section. because I am going to be scheduling a whole bunch of events in my locals as private events outside of my locals to fight back. And the very first thing I've got scheduled is a live webinar on February 1st. And this is going to be with me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain critical race theory in like plain English for total noobs. Now, a lot of you guys, especially those of you who come to my weekly happy hours on Fridays, you are not newbies. Okay. But your friends might be, your family might be. And so make sure you send them the webinar. You can find the link to it on activelyunwoke.com. There is a limited number of spaces. There's like 500 spaces. And so I want to encourage everyone who wants like a bare bones introduction to critical race theory in human language, in the most easy to understand way that I can explain it. Have them come to this webinar. It's going to be a totally free event. I'm going to record it. It's going to be archived on the site. But this is the sort of stuff we're going to be doing on activelyunwoke.com. I also just got confirmation from Nicole Solis, who is the mom in Rhode Island that was sued by the teachers unions. She's going to come and do a webinar about how to do public records requests, freedom of information requests. So she's going to be teaching people that. I'm really excited about that. And then on February 20th, and this is a locals exclusive, the book club is a locals supporter exclusive, we are going to be reading The R of the Mind. I can't say that word on YouTube, but I just got my copy today. I'm very excited about this. This is a book about how totalitarian regimes brainwash people. So that's a little bit relevant to what's going on in the world. And Aaron Keinsvatter, who is the woke whistleblower from the University of Vermont, he's also a psychologist and a counselor in private practice now. He's going to come and have a conversation with us on February 20th at 6 p.m. in my locals community. So you're only going to be able to get access to that by becoming a supporter in my locals. It's a nice little extra perk. You can become a supporter in my locals by going to, there we go, there's my ticker, kb.locals.com/support. You can join for $5 a month. You can join for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can give more than that if you feel like I'm worthy of it, but you don't have to. There's no obligation. You can also make a one-time gift. And the reason that I like taking one-time gifts through my locals is because it gets you access to all of the features and perks in locals in addition to making sure that I actually am able to like feed myself and do all this stuff as I'm trying to organize and do all this woke stuff.